Hello and welcome. How long can Somalia continue as a failed state? It's been nearly 2 decades since it had a stable government, and the humanitarian crisis has become even worse in recent months as fighting escalates. The United Nations reports that Somalis are enduring, quote, near daily atrocities as armed groups continue to take on the transitional government's forces in Mogadishu. In the past month alone, more than 200 civilians have been killed and about 100,000 have fled the capital, joining the 1 million plus Somalis who've been homeless over the past 18 years. The latest round of fighting is preventing the UN and aid groups from reaching those in need of relief, and now Western countries are afraid that the humanitarian crisis is fueling an anti-Western and anti-American sentiment on the Somali street. Representatives of about 33 countries and international organizations met in Rome this week to discuss ways to stabilize the war-torn African nation. But today we ask, can a country described as a clear example of a failed state be rebuilt? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com/AJE, enter the chat room and take part. And of course, we welcome your phone calls on the show. Now, joining me to look at the prospects for the country are Somalia's Foreign Minister, Mohamed Abdullahi Omaar, who's been visiting the United Nations and various world capitals to seek diplomatic help for his country. He's taking part in the show from New York. And for full disclosure, we should mention his brother Rage is, of course, a popular host on our channel. With me here in Washington, D.C. is Sadia Ali Aden, a Somali-American writer and human rights activist who co-founded the Somali Diaspora Network, a grassroots advocacy group that works on U.S. Somali policies. We welcome you both to the show. And Minister, if I could start with you, sir, why is it that the transitional government has had such a hard time controlling more than just its sort of small enclave in Mogadishu? Why has it ended up almost barricaded against the insurgents?
Well, first and foremost, let me state that we control more of the capital than the insurgents and other parts, but I'll come back to that. The issue essentially is the government is about 3.5 months old. The current fight started from the objective of the Al-Shabaab and Hizbul Islam to try and take power before the government established or rebuilt its armed forces, and before the resources pledged in Brussels were delivered for this rebuilding of the army. So they wanted to kill it in the cradle, so to speak, and that is the reason why the Al-Shabaab and Hizbul Islam attacked, and they wanted to catch us before we were ready, but unfortunately for them, we have resisted. We have captured more territory both in the capital and the central regions in particular, and the momentum and the popular support is with the government.
Minister, how do you address the criticism that there hasn't been that much progress with the TFG, the Transitional Federal Government, in spite of the willingness of the international community to help? I mean, is the help really forthcoming?
Well, the help is there. Some of it has been delivered, but by no means what we require. There are 2 or 3 areas that assistance has been pledged and committed and will be provided. One is the financial support committed in Brussels. The second is in terms of technical training, both for the army, the civil servants, the doctors, the medics. The third is really the area of capacity building. If the institutions of the state have collapsed and have not functioned properly, this whole system needs to be re-established. So it is a 3-pronged strategy. All of them have received some input from the outside world. We on our side have also started to deliver elements to that. For example, we generate approximately $1.5 million from the port every month as of now, which didn't exist before. So both sides are coming together and pulling together.
Okay. Ms. Sadia, if I could ask you, apart from the comments made from the Minister, looking at the situation in Somalia right now, do you get a sense the latest formation or the latest version of the TFG is actually starting to get a grip on the country, or in your opinion, is it really just same old business as usual?
Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you for keeping Somalia on the highlight to increase awareness. With all due respect to the Minister, I believe what's going on in Somalia is worse than that we have anticipated. I'm one of those people and the human rights activists among my other colleagues who have pushed for the ejection of the Ethiopian brutal forces. And we were hoping the Islamists would come together and bring Somalia out of the ashes. But what took place is unfortunately completely opposite of what we expected. What we would want and we hope is that the government will go back and do what it's supposed to do, which is to take the reconciliation process seriously and restart within the country rather than outside, because they need to convince these people who are fighting them, who I don't agree what they're doing, but of course Sheikh Sharif and his government are former friends of these people who they're fighting. Sheikh Sharif have worked with these people. They're his former colleagues. The Al-Shabaab are his former students. So it would be easier for them than any other government to bring them on board to reconcile with the government.
Well, let's get Mohammed on the line from Somalia, because we have a phone call from there. Good to hear from Somalia. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Hello, thank you, Khan, for having me on the program. I have a question for the Foreign Minister of Somalia, Mr. Omar.
Please.
And the question that I want to ask him is, Somalia is breaking up in parts where he is also from the northern region of Somaliland. Is the solution for Somalia to break up the country into different small countries like Somaliland and Puntland and make maybe 2 parts in the south of Somalia? And maybe this can become the solution, because now the... Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. Minister, this is one of the issues that people often raise, the fragmentation of countries, the balkanization as it's now being referred to based on what happened to the former Yugoslavia. Can you see that kind of fate for Somalia if no resolution is found eventually?
I certainly do not see that. I certainly do not accept that proposition, and I certainly do not think the people of Somalia accept it. Somali people by origin, by clan relationships, are related and come from the same stock in one form or another. Therefore, that is one side. The other side is the fact that, in essence, the way Somalia has been presented has been wrongly presented, because the northern regions, the northeastern regions have all been stable and safe for quite a long time. The fighting in the south has been localized mainly to Mogadishu and some other locations. Therefore, the majority of the country is safe. What we need to do is to bring all the Somalis so that we can rebuild Somalia. But the essence, if I can go back to Sadia's comment, is we have opened the door and the door remains open. We have offered consistently on a daily basis unconditional negotiations and reconciliation to the opposition forces. Unfortunately, we have never ever received a reply from the current opposition, including the visit and the offer of negotiations to Hassan Dahir personally in Khartoum and in Mogadishu. Both of them were rejected, and both of which were responded to with the current offensive militarily. That is what we have maintained and what we have offered, and we remained at all times and used other governments, external governments, to assist. We have not left any stone unturned. I don't think we can be accused of bad faith or unwillingness to negotiate.
Okay, Ms. Sadia, how do you respond to the Minister's comments? And there's a question that came in from our live station chat room. If I could get this to you too. It's from Ghada in Canada, who says, instead of spending millions of dollars to protect commercial shipping, there should be more emphasis given to political solutions in order to establish a stable government. So are resources going the wrong way?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that I want to say is we as human rights activists are advocates for the voiceless. So we are voice for the voiceless. Therefore, whether there is a stable government or a government that's teetering like this one that we have right now, we will always be speaking those who are underserved and who always need to be supported and be brought into the mainstream. As for what's happening in Somalia, you have 1.5, 1.8, depending which sources that you read, on the who are displaced, the majority of them being women and children and elderly. And you have over 3 million people on the verge of starvation. Also, the camps in Kenya are overflowing. For example, the ones that built for 90,000 refugees now are holding 300,000 refugees. Therefore, we feel the government is giving up too soon. It's only 3 months. They should go back to the negotiation tables. They should ask and support the Somalis to bring them on board, those who are outside the reconciliation.
But if the minister has said that they've made the offers and they're not getting any response?
Of course, that's true. And we have seen them at the beginning. The government has done goodwill gestures where they have done also town hall meetings where they have talked to the religious, the traditional. But the previous government also claimed the same thing, where they have said that we have extended our hand to the opposition, the Union of Islamic Courts, and we knew that was not enough, and of course we have seen the results. Therefore, we don't want this government to fall in the same pitfall where the previous governments have fallen. So we want them to take advantage of the previous mistakes and to bring everyone on board. After all, this unity government, unfortunately, has also the former warlords who were part of the previous government that have failed and who have actually implemented the policies of the Ethiopian brutal troops. Therefore, it would be nice and a wonderful thing for the Somali people to bring all these people on board, because the whole idea is to find lasting peace for the Somali people. As far for the piracy, of course, that's a symptom. And the international community is dealing with the symptom rather than dealing with the cause, the disease itself, which is on land.
I'm going to ask you and the Minister to stand by. We've got to take a very short break here. More of our discussion on the conditions in Somalia in just a moment. Now, as we pause, let me remind you, you can join the conversation with your questions and comments. Log on to livestation.com, enter the chat room. There's a debate taking place in there right now. We'll be right back.